Like most fathers, Mark Thompson wanted to give his kids something special. A construction worker by trade, he had spent months saving up to build them the perfect backyard playhouse. His children, Emily and Lucas, watched excitedly from the kitchen window as he began digging the foundation that Saturday morning. The shovel moved rhythmically through the soil, each scoop bringing him closer to starting their dream project. But on his next dig, the metal blade struck something solid, producing an unusual hollow sound that echoed through the quiet backyard. Mark brushed away some dirt with his hands, revealing a glimpse of weathered metal beneath the surface. As he cleared more earth, his heart began racing. This was definitely not a typical rock or old pipe. There, buried in his suburban backyard, lay something that would change everything. Mark lived in a modest suburban home with his two children, Emily and Lucas. At ages 8 and 6, they were at that magical stage of childhood where everything seemed possible and adventure lurked around every corner. Like any good father, Mark wanted to nurture that sense of wonder. He worked hard at his construction job, putting away a little money each month, dreaming of the day he could build them something special. "Dad, when can we have our own playhouse?" Emily would ask almost every weekend, her eyes bright with hope. Lucas would join in, bouncing on his toes with excitement at the mere mention of it. Mark would smile and tell them, soon, knowing that each overtime shift brought him closer to making their dream come true. After 8 months of careful saving, Mark finally had enough. He could still remember the joy on his children's faces when he announced that weekend that they would start building their playhouse. But fate had other plans for the Thompson family's backyard. What started as a routine excavation would soon turn into something far more complex. Nobody could have predicted the chain of events that would unfold, or how this simple family project would attract the attention of local authorities and change their lives forever. Mark had chosen the perfect spot in the backyard, a level area with good drainage safely away from the house but still visible from the kitchen window. His construction experience told him this would be straightforward. Dig the foundation, pour some concrete, and start building. At least, that's what he thought. The first few hours of digging went exactly as planned. The soil was good, no large rocks to contend with. Mark worked steadily, enjoying the cool morning air and the occasional encouragement from his kids watching from the window. But then something happened that would change everything. The hollow clang of his shovel hitting metal stopped him in his tracks. At first he thought it might be an old pipe or perhaps some buried junk from previous homeowners. But as he cleared away more dirt, his construction instincts told him this was something different. The metal surface was too wide, too deliberately placed. As Mark exposed more of the mysterious metal structure, his professional curiosity took over. The craftsmanship was obvious even through decades of corrosion. This wasn't some random piece of debris, this was engineered, built to last. But why was it here? And more importantly, what was inside? His children's excitement grew as they watched their father uncover more of the strange object. To them, it was like watching a treasure hunt unfold in their own backyard. But was this really treasure or something else entirely? Sometimes the most dangerous things come disguised as exciting discoveries. Over the next few days, Mark's evening routine changed dramatically. Instead of relaxing after work, he would spend hours carefully excavating around the metal structure. With each shovel of dirt removed, more questions emerged. The metal panel was actually part of something larger, much larger. What emerged was unmistakably a staircase, the entrance to some kind of underground structure. Mark's construction knowledge told him this was no amateur project. The concrete work around the hatch was professional grade, though badly weathered by time. This was military-grade construction, the kind meant to last decades. By this point, neighbors had started to take notice. Their curious glances and whispered conversations added another layer of mystery to the situation. Was this normal? Should someone be notified? But Mark was too invested now to stop. He had to know what lay beneath that hatch. As he worked to clear the entrance, Mark's mind raced with possibilities. Could this be an old Cold War bunker? A forgotten storage facility? His construction background told him the structure was sound, despite its age. Perhaps, he thought, this could be transformed into something even better than a playhouse, an underground fortress that would be the ultimate play space for his children. But there was something unsettling about the whole situation. Why wasn't this bunker on any property records? Why had it been so thoroughly buried and forgotten? These questions should have been warning signs, but Mark's enthusiasm blinded him to the potential dangers lurking beneath his feet. The work became more challenging as Mark reached the actual entrance. Years of compacted soil and debris had completely blocked the access point. Using his construction expertise, he carefully installed temporary supports and began removing the deteriorated concrete around the entrance. This wasn't just about satisfying curiosity anymore. If he was going to make this safe for his children, it had to be done right. Emily and Lucas had already started calling it their secret fortress, their imaginations running wild with possibilities. Their excitement made every hour of hard work worth it. But as Mark would soon discover, sometimes our dreams can lead us into unexpected territory. As Mark cleared more debris, he noticed something odd. The deeper he dug, the more modern the construction materials became. This wasn't just an old bunker. It had been modified relatively recently. But by whom? And for what purpose? Then came the day that would change everything. It started like any other Thursday afternoon. Mark had just finished replacing another section of deteriorated concrete when he heard the unmistakable sound of sirens. At first he thought they were just passing by, but when 2 police cars and a vehicle marked hazmat pulled up in front of his house, his heart sank. The sight of officers in protective gear approaching his backyard made time seem to stop. Their urgent voices carried across the yard. "Sir, step away from the structure immediately." Mark's children watched from the kitchen window, their faces pressed against the glass, as their father's simple project suddenly became something much more serious. The truth, when it finally came, was devastating. The bunker hadn't been built during the Cold War as Mark had assumed. It had been constructed in the 1970s and used for a much darker purpose: the illegal disposal of radioactive waste. The materials, though sealed in containers, had been forgotten over time, creating a potential health hazard that had somehow slipped through decades of property records and inspections. The levels weren't immediately dangerous, but prolonged exposure could be harmful. Mark's heart shattered as he watched his children cry from the window while officials cordoned off their backyard. The space that was supposed to become their dream playground was now wrapped in yellow caution tape and warning signs. The Thompson family was forced to temporarily relocate while decontamination experts handled the situation. Their home, once a place of joy and future dreams, now sat empty while teams in protective suits worked to remove the hazardous materials. Today, 2 years later, the Thompson family has finally returned home. The bunker has been completely removed, the soil rehabilitated, and their backyard declared safe. Mark did eventually build that playhouse for his children, this time on solid, uncontaminated ground. Looking back, Mark often reflects on how his simple desire to bring joy to his children led to uncovering a dangerous secret. Sometimes the greatest discoveries come from the purest intentions, even if they don't lead us where we expected to go. And while the playhouse he eventually built might be smaller than an underground fortress, it was built with the same love that started this whole adventure, and this time, without any hidden surprises lurking underneath.